Here's the thing. I can't tell if he's doing a bit, but if he's doing a bit, it's not funny. And who's it for? And if he's not doing a bit, sweet Lord, man.
Well, he's a former comic.
He has got to get his bona fides on that. What do you call it?
Is
Glenn
that
Beck
the
Network.
guy from Wolf of Wall Street?
I don't know. Let's see. Who's that guest? Do we know? Here's this is from Dave's clips, that Twitter feed. Here we go. Dave Rubin.
But I'll tell you one other thing about it, which was that Trump and Melania, they love each other. They are actually in love. Several times he referred to her as honey, and he put his hand across the table and put his hand on her when he was speaking to her. And he had me, he said, honey.
You could just tell her.
He said, honey, what do you think about this? And then he had me tell her what I had said about Bloomberg. And she actually thought it was interesting. But like, if they weren't in love, when he put his hand on
body
her.
language is very.
Yeah, so I don't know what it is. You see those videos of them publicly and she kind of pulls away. Or I don't know if they were like playing some weird game for the media on that. And he's very soft
Calm,
to the way he speaks.
Yes,
humble, very thoughtful, deliberate. The guy could have literally done anything he wanted to do for the rest of his life. And I wish I had woken up to this earlier even than I did, because it wasn't until I never said I was supporting Trump, really until September. He somehow is the last line between us and complete totalitarian lunacy. And yet, unless I'm nuts, that's pretty much where we are. And Trump looks at me. He's sitting. He looks up and he goes, do I recognize you? I recognize you. And I said, oh, well, I'm on Tucker a lot. He goes, oh, that must be it. Then he turns to David, my husband. He goes, who are you? David goes, well, I'm his husband. He goes, husband? He goes, you know what your only problem is? Your problem is you guys are too handsome. You guys are just too handsome. That's your problem. Then he goes, Melania. He goes, honey, can you believe it? These guys are gay. Can you believe it? He goes,
wow.
That's so heartwarming to have that kind of reaction to a gay person that you meet, to treat them with incredulity and shock. How beautiful. And yes, that's got to be Jordan Belfort. That's the Wolf of Wall Street douche.
It is.
Yeah.
Who
stole a bunch of money from people and then made it all back because Leo played him in the movie. Good movie. Critique on greed, but I think the guy's still, not that good of a person.
But there's Dave Rubin basically saying that, like, he knows they're in love because Trump kept touching her hand and referring to her as honey.
Yeah, I mean, that could be performative. It's pretty obvious that they're not and that she despises him. I don't know what he's watching, but... And why do you even care? Like, the whole point is that he married this woman and she married him for his money. And, yeah, this is the arrangement that they have. And that's, like, you were all into him being this celebrity rich guy. That's what celebrity rich guys do. We don't need to make it into some sort of Jane Austen novel.
I'm going to feel horrible for Dave Rubin if Melania and Trump end up getting divorced soon, really soon.
I know. Well,
I wonder how much he has to pay her to stick around for another month or two after January 20th.
He's like me when I watch like Gossip Girl or like Gilmore Girls as a kid growing up and would ship couples from that show, and he's just like, oh, I love the way they look at each other. I'm just like way too emotionally invested in people he doesn't know.
He seems very excited about the whole thing, and he didn't kick us out after we told him that we were married. What would you bet? Maybe we should do a pool. When do we think that they're going to separate?
There was actually odds that Vegas put out before the election, or like, will Melania divorce Trump after he loses? But I feel like that was more clickbait. They need to have a time limit on the line.
Right. I mean, the question is like
over
3 months,
2.5 years.
Right? Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I think it's going to be, if it happens, it's going to be like, 3 or 6 months. Like, there's definitely been like it's got to be 90 days or 180 days or something like that. There's definitely a contract.
Oh, 100%. She might have one of those prenups that she gets more money the longer she stays.
I mean, how much more money? At one point, you got to just, take your money.
I hope she made
a
business decision and got a rock solid prenuptial agreement.
My guess is that it was associated with them keeping. I think it fell apart when the whole thing about his affairs came out. I mean, it was always my theory.
She knew. I mean, that's
my theory was always like, if she could prove, then she would get paid or something to that effect. That's why they were so desperate to keep it quiet.
Well, definitely. I mean, there's like there's got to be some sort of infidelity clause. But knowing Trump, his lawyers would have written it so it was a one-way infidelity thing. I
gotta look into that. I may have a source for something like that.
And a copy of their prenup, please. But you know, that would shatter Dave Rubin's illusions of true love. So best not, maybe.